Hello and welcome to this video. So this is an overview and a quick rule video about the Gates of Truth, which is my game. So something to keep in mind is that this is a prototype and everything that will be shown may be subject to change, and all the illustrations are temporary and everything. So this is all the basic mechanics that you can expect from this game. So this game has at least 4 features that I would like to introduce to you and that you can expect when playing this game. So the 4 features are that the game, To the Gates of Truth, is a tactical game, a cooperative game, a card game, and that features a scenarized and scenario in which the players will engage. So all of those features I'd like to develop and explain a bit. So again, as you can expect from To the Gates of Truth. So when I say tactical game, it means at least those 3 different things. The first thing being all the game revolves around the grid system. So this is a square tiles grid. And something that I didn't mention is that currently the playtests are in Tabletopia, which is a virtual tabletop. So I'll be showing you what it's like. And as I was saying, so the game revolves around this particular game board or grid. And the dimensions of the grid can vary depending on the scenarios and where you are. So this is a very basic one with just a square with 4 by 4 tiles. So as you can see, you can have elements, you can have different and specific tiles. And so in this example, those figurines are just the players that can, of course, be on any tile they want. They cannot be outside of the board or the grid, of course, and they cannot be, for example, 2 on the same tile. So this is a very basic thing about what I want to say about tactical. The second thing is that it's turn-based, which is there is something called the timeline, which will kind of put all the mechanics and where players can play their actions, or where the enemies, or where you can draw and everything. So basically you have at least 4 phases, which is the beginning of the round, as you can see with my pawn, the seeker's phase, the enemy's phase, the drawing phase, and the end of the round. So this is very basic, and as you can guess, during the seeker's phase or the player's phase, this is where players will be able to use their action points. The other thing about To the Gates of Truth, it's because it's objective based and it's not a dungeon crawler. What I want to say about this is the objective will not be always to destroy enemies or to do something like this or explore a dungeon. Each scenario, which I will present later, each scenario has a bunch of objectives, sometimes secondary and optional objectives, and this will be the core gameplay of To the Gates of Truth, because it's much more of a puzzle type game with all that I was saying about the grid system and turn-based. Something about the timeline too is that you can also put events. That is, for example, there can be events in the scenarios that says, for example, at the end of the round, seekers, which are the players that don't have action points, takes 1 damage. So this is an example on how the timeline can evolve and adapt to the scenario and bring up depth to the game. So as I was saying, there's at least all of those phases, and I will shortly describe them. So beginning of the round is where all the players gain their action points. All of the passive are effective. So passive of the cloud, this is the environment, this is the players, and all the passive are the enemies. The seeker's phase or player's phase is what I was describing earlier. The enemy's phase, as you've guessed it, is when enemies will use their action points. The end of the round, which is right there, but before that you have the drawing phase, which I will cover later. The end of the round is very similar to the beginning of the round, That is, you use all the passives, that is the passives of the environment, passive of the players, and passive of the enemies. And then you go back there. When you go back there, you just put a 1 marker because you've just finished, for example, the first round, and this begins the second round. And as I was saying earlier too, there can be events that can be placed between those phases. So now I want to talk about the second feature of 2D Gates of Truth, which is a cooperative game. So I've been talking about the seekers. So actually, the players will play seekers that are trying to reach the gates of truth. So each player will take a seeker card, and I will be describing very shortly what you can expect, because each seeker will have its special ability, its special characteristic, and so I'll be describing those to you. So first of all, the seekers are not risking their life literally, but they are risking their confidence in reaching the gates of truth. Of course, if all the seekers reach 0 confidence, the ascension to reach the gates of truth ends, and the players have not lose. So the second thing is the aura. So this is the first icon I want to talk to you about. So the little lightning is about the action points that I will talk about later. But the action points are basically the pool of points that you can use to make actions. So for example, this character has 2 action points at the beginning of the round. The presence is on how many tiles you can move for 1 action point. For example, this seeker can use for 1 action point 1 to 2 tiles away. For example, if it's the blue, it can move there, 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 etc. So this is basically how presence use, and seekers cannot move diagonally. They can always use they can always move in orthogonal ways. The unspeakable is another characteristic that is about dice and all the things that can be known and that is unpredictable, and this will be represented by a dice, and the number just reflects how many dice or 6-sided dice this seeker will use when needed. And finally, there will always be a special ability that I won't go too deep in it, but that will create asymmetrical roles in the seekers, and they will need to play together to answer the objectives of the scenario. So a little bit of what you can expect from the seekers is that on top of this seeker's card, there are the seeker zone. The seeker zone is basically where you will put all your cards, because as I said, it is a card game. So I'll be describing very shortly what you can expect. So all the dice are there, and first of all, you have all the first markers here that represent your confidence for the heart, your action points for the lightning, and of course the shield, because you can gain shield. You will have with you different slots that can be your seeker's card, the inventory, the status conditions, your weapon, as you can see there, and as we will see later, but you can also have powers and passives. Those are those, and I can show it to you if you want. So, as I was saying, during the seeker's phase, which is here, if you have the little pawn there, you can have basic actions that you can use for 1 action point. Those are not an exhaustive list, but you can of course move for 1 action point, use a card that is a weapon or a power, or you can draw from your deck. Some cards does not cost action points, and something that I didn't say is that during the game you will have a hand, that is, before putting a card in this zone, that is the working memory slot, you have a hand, and then you get to choose on which slots you place them. So, and of course, this is a card game. So those are the basic cards that you can expect, and they all have particularities, and they have something very unique to them. So the weapons, of course, are meant to deal damage, but sometimes they also have passives, and they can only be used once in a round. Sorry, and remember that, as I was saying, the objective is not always to destroy all enemies, and sometimes enemies doesn't even have health, or there is no enemy. Powers that are active cards, passive that are immediately effective when placed on the slot, as I was saying earlier. Objects that are placed in the inventory, and all of those can synergize, can have synergies between your cards and between the cards that you have and the cards for all the other seekers. So the first example would be wait for it. So this card, so cards will have what I call tags. So there are icons that can describe particular effects. So the description of a card is that when it's inactive, there's the cost on action points, there's the title, there's the effect, and there's the tags that can say that can add rules and make the game feel more deep. And for example, when I talk about synergies, this little icon means that if a card bearing this tag is used, any card bearing this tag can be used for free. So this can lead to different combos, for example, and yeah, you can always try to figure out with the other players which cards you want to use, so that you can use other cards freely and with no cost. So this is a basic example of a synergy, for example. And finally, what I want to say about the scenario and why it is a scenarized game. So you will embark in an existential journey where the seekers are trying to reach the gates of truth, and there will be scenario cards that explain where they arrive and what are they doing, and they will give choices to the players for them to orient their campaign or their game. So when I didn't talk about a bit of the lore, but seekers embark on this ascension to the gates of truth in celestial islands, and all celestial islands have a proper gameplay mechanics and an entity that they will get to meet. And this entity, much like a kind of god, they will put them to trial, which will be the scenarios. So it's up to the players and the seekers to try to let the entities know they're worthy of the gates of truth. So that's it for this kind of quick overview or quick rule video. So of course there's a lot of things that will be added whenever you play, but this is what you can expect for the game. And yeah, so if you're interested, there's always in the Discord server the playtests, or we can chat about game design. And again, because the game is in prototype phase, it will be subject to change. So maybe some things you've seen in this quick presentation have changed if you play a playtest. And again, playtests are organized in Tabletopia for now, but yeah, at least it works for now. So thanks for watching, and if you have any question, or if you're interested in the game, feel free to join the Discord and we can set up a playtest. So yeah, bye.